U.S. diplomatic posts are on high alert in the Middle East as President Donald Trump considers recognizing Jerusalem as a capital of Israel. A final decision hasn't been made yet, but under U.S. law, the president has until December 4th to issue a waiver informing Congress that he will keep the embassy in Tel Aviv. Mr. Trump vowed to move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem during the campaign. The territory has been at the center of decades of fighting between Israelis and Palestinians. Ronen Bergman is a contributing writer for the New York Times Magazine and author of the book Rise and Kill First, The Secret History of Israel's Targeted Assassinations. He joins me now on set. Ronen, as you know, for many years, various White House administrations has held the issue of declaring Jerusalem as a capital as something they were going to wait to the last minute to decide at the end. What do you make of this?
There are two separate issues here. One is the U.S. recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. I think it's not that important. Even Russia, back in May, recognized that the Hebrew or the Israeli side, the New Jerusalem, not the eastern side, is the capital of Israel. And Russia is not considered the most pro-Israeli state country in the world. So this is not extremely important. The situation, the place where the embassy is located is extremely important. And if the president will follow his, as you said, his election, one of his main slogans in the election vis-a-vis the Jewish community in the United States and Israel, and will relocate the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that is a dramatic and very important decision. My take, he will never do that, because at the end of the day, he faces, I would say, severe anticipation from the American intelligence community that would lead to a new break of violence in the area, to severe condemnations from other Arab countries, to many negative developments. So I think he will not do that. If so, it's a new game.
Wow. I want to ask you, why do you think he's considering doing this now?
I think he is considering this because there is a pressure from ultra right-wing circles, either Jewish or Israelis, to fulfill what he, very, very clearly stated during the elections that he's going to do the day after he's elected. And now we are almost a year after he's inaugurated, and it hasn't yet happened. I think that the president, you are a better expert with American politics, but I think the president of the United States is trying to show that at least some of the promise that he made during the election campaign are fulfilling. From his point of view, just signing that waiver, or not signing that waiver, and ordering the embassy to be relocated and returning to Jerusalem is very easy from a technical point of view. They are already looking for some installations, some building in Jerusalem to buy. But again, I think that the outcome, or the likelihood outcome, could be horrendous.
Big day today in Washington for Michael Flynn, pleading guilty to lying to the FBI. One of those accounts was, in fact, lying about meeting with the Russian ambassador at the time. This was then under the Obama administration on a UN vote dealing with Israeli settlements. It was the understanding that the Obama administration was actually going to vote condemning this activity, settlement activity. What do you make of it, and what are people in Israel saying about this?
I think that the general perception, it's not mine, but the general perception in Israel was that the Obama administration was very hostile towards Israel. And the fact that the Obama administration did not block that UN resolution on settlement back at the time and did not object, declaring the settlement as illegal, which basically constitute a decision by international law that the settlements are illegal, and therefore a very important decision by the UN. This is perceived as a peak of a tension between the Prime Minister of Israel and then the President of the United States, Barack Obama. If indeed the people around later to be President Trump, met with the Russian ambassador to have some sort of coordination around that, and that even was leaked to Israel of if there were Israelis involved in that sort of maneuvering behind the back of the Obama administration, I think the implications could be very, very dramatic to the investigation. But it's very clear, at least from the allegation as they are published, and I don't know if they're true, that the issue of the Middle East does not just concern the Middle East, and it always has direct implication to what is happening here in the United States. And it's evident during the campaign that if it's true, the people were while campaigning to be the president of the United States, were actually dealing with what is happening in Israel, possibly trying to recruit the assistance and the support of American Jews and the right-wing government of Israel.
Right now, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a corruption scandal. Tell me about that. Do you think he survives this?
No.
No?
No. I think Netanyahu is going down. I don't know how long this will take, but I'm quite sure that in at least one, if not more, of the 5 cases.
And remind us again what these cases are.
Well, it's a long story, but make it short. We are talking about at least one case of bribery where he received from businessmen, including the famous film producer Arnon Milchan, money worth merchandise like jewelry, cigars, pink champagne. And the police is investigating the alleged bribery that he paid, helping Mr. Milchan get a new permit to stay in the United States, helping another very famous Australian billionaire to get an Israeli passport. This is all under investigation. So this is one. There are other cases, one of them involving a paper owned by Mr. Sheldon Adelson. Another case of bribery, perjury, and alleged.
Why do you think he doesn't survive this?
Because I think that the police is going to issue a very, very severe report of at least some of these investigations, that he's going to be indicted. And if indicted, I think that even the public who really support him and admire Benjamin Netanyahu for many years would start to walk away and look for some other candidate. And I also think that under such strong allegation, maybe Mr. Sheldon Adelson, who was his strongest supporter and financial supporter, would withdraw and choose another one of the right-wing camp in Israel. That would have a profound effect.
And the sentiment right now in Israel among the voting public, is there somebody in the wings, understanding of somebody who might take over? And would that person work well with President Trump? See eye to eye, I guess I should say.
Well, we saw the leader of the Jewish house, or the Jewish home, Habayit HaYehudi, Naftali Bennett, an ultra-right-wing leader of the ultra-right camp in Israel and the settlers, is getting close to Mr. Sheldon Adelson. I think that in many of the points and topics he would see eye to eye with President Trump. It's still early to say. Netanyahu would clutch to leadership as much as he can, and is trying to legislate all sorts of law to diminish the authorities of the police and harm the investigation. But if I can see the map carving in, and also I would say the tension among the different parts of the coalition. We have a coalition government. It's very different than the United States. I think elections are coming. Winter is coming. And I think that we will see Netanyahu leaving the political arena quite soon.
Quite soon. Before you go, I want to ask you, I know you have many sources when it comes to Syria in the intelligence world. What are you hearing about that conflict? Where is that headed?
That's the next front. It even has a name, a new code name in Israeli intelligence. The next confrontation is going to be called the First Northern War. Why? Israel had the first Lebanon war, the invasion to Lebanon in 1982. Then it had the second Lebanon war of 2006 when it fought Hezbollah. That's in Lebanon. Now they are forecasting that it's going to be the first Northern War, which means a cross-border war between Israel and Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon, and these forces in Syria as well. They are expecting confrontation. What adds to that equation is that Israel feels that the U.S. administration has practically evacuated Lebanon, evacuated the Middle East, that we are left alone. We Israelis, we are left alone. There's nothing worse for an Israeli, nothing worse for a Jew to be left alone and without the support of the United States. And that is the feeling and bitterness in many realms and corridors of the intelligence, security, and defense establishment. Iran is under, I would say, extensive military buildup in Syria. Israel has requested the United States to activate its leverage on the Russians, so the Russians would prevent the Iranians from doing that. It didn't happen. Israel asked the Russians directly. Mr. Netanyahu traveled a few times to the Kremlin and to Sochi and met with President Putin, and it didn't help. So Israel is now left with a choice, either to accept Iranian presence stations throughout the northern border or do something. And I think sooner or later we will see Israel planes bombing the Iranian installations throughout Syria.
I can't imagine what that will look like and the type of war that could potentially launch.
And the type of deterioration that the whole region can face.
Well, on that not so positive note.
Sorry for ending in this note. Yep.
Well, we always love having you on. Ronen Bergman, thank you very much for joining us on set.
Thank you.
Well, the search continues.